Defendant asks to hug victim. The judge's attitude shocked everyone. Michael Johnson stood there in the courtroom, his hands trembling as he looked at Emily across the room. She was his daughter, the girl he had raised alone since she was 3 years old, now 22, staring at him as if he were a stranger. "Your Honor, I just asked for a chance to hug my daughter." Michael's voice cracked, breaking the tense silence in the courtroom. Emily took a step back, her eyes brimming with tears she was fighting to hold back. Judge William Parker, a 60-year-old man with graying hair, watched the scene with an unreadable expression. The tension in the air was palpable. Everyone held their breath, waiting for the judge's decision. "Mr. Johnson, you are being sued for emotional abandonment. Miss Emily claims you deprived her of knowing her true origins for 19 years. The judge spoke deliberately. Michael felt the weight of those words. How could he explain that everything he did was out of love? How could he make Emily understand that every lie was meant to protect her from a truth that could destroy her? The story had begun 3 months earlier when Emily accidentally found an old box in the attic of the house where she grew up. Inside were documents that changed her life forever. Michael was not her biological father. Worse, he had known all along and never told her. "Emily, sweetheart, please." Michael tried to step closer, but the bailiff moved forward. "Don't call me sweetheart," Emily exploded, her voice echoing through the room. "You lied to me my whole life. I had the right to know." Emily's lawyer, Dr. Richard Miller, a middle-aged man with thick-framed glasses, stood up. "Your Honor, my client has suffered irreparable psychological harm upon discovering her entire life was built on a lie. Mr. Michael Johnson not only hid the truth, but deprived Emily of knowing her biological family." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now back to the story. On the other side, Michael's lawyer, Dr. Jennifer Wilson, a determined 45-year-old woman, also stood. "With all due respect, Your Honor, my client raised Emily with nothing but love and dedication. He was both father and mother when the biological mother simply disappeared, leaving a 3-year-old child in his care." Emily clenched her fists. That was the part that hurt the most. Discovering that Jessica, the woman she believed had died in childbirth, was alive somewhere in the world. The judge flipped through the case documents, his expression grave as he analyzed each detail. The room remained in absolute silence, only the hum of the air conditioner cutting through the tension. "Miss Emily, could you tell the court how you discovered the truth?" the judge asked calmly. Emily took a deep breath, trying to steady the tremor in her voice. "I was looking for Christmas decorations in the attic. I found a box I'd never seen before. Inside were certificates, documents, and letters." "What kind of letters?" the judge prompted. "Letters from my biological mother to him." Emily pointed at Michael without looking at him. "Letters where she said she had to leave, that she couldn't be a mother, and letters from him replying, promising to raise me as his own." Michael closed his eyes, remembering those difficult days. Jessica, young and terrified of motherhood, had fallen into deep depression after giving birth. He'd only been the best friend of Emily's biological father, who died in a car accident while Jessica was still pregnant. "Do you confirm this, Mr. Johnson?" the judge asked. "I do, Your Honor, but I need to explain the context." "You'll have your chance," the judge interrupted. "Continue, Miss Emily." Emily swallowed hard. Memories of the past few months, flooding her mind like an avalanche. The discovery had been like an earthquake in her structured life. She was a preschool teacher, adored children, and had always dreamed of giving her father grandchildren. Father. The word now left a bitter taste in her mouth. "After finding the documents, I confronted him. At first he denied it, said I had misunderstood. But when I showed him the letters, he had no choice but to confess." "And how did that conversation go?" the judge asked. Emily glanced briefly at Michael, seeing the same pain in his eyes that she felt. "He cried, said he loved me, that I would always be his daughter. But how can I believe someone who lied for 19 years? How can I trust him?" The prosecutor, Dr. Patricia Thompson, a 50-year-old woman experienced in family cases, decided to intervene. Your Honor, beyond emotional abandonment through deprivation of the truth, we also have the issue of reverse parental alienation. Mr. Johnson prevented Emily from knowing her maternal biological family. Objection! Jennifer stood up. There's no proof my client knew the whereabouts of the maternal family, but he knew they existed and never looked for them, Patricia countered. The judge banged the gavel, calling for order. Let's maintain civility. Mr. Johnson, would you like to give your version of the events? Michael stood up, his legs feeling like jelly. He looked at Emily, who turned away. Your Honor, I was 27 when I found myself responsible for a 3-year-old child. Jessica was in a psychotic episode, hospitalized multiple times. Emily's biological father, my best friend David, had passed away. His family lived abroad and refused to take responsibility. And the maternal family? The judge asked. Jessica was an orphan raised in shelters. There was no maternal family, Michael explained, watching Emily's eyes widen at the new information. That's not in the documents, Emily whispered to her lawyer. Why did you never present this information before? Richard Miller addressed Michael. Because I didn't think it was necessary to expose my daughter to even more pain, Michael replied, his voice thick with emotion. The judge took notes as he processed the information. The case was more complex than it first appeared. It wasn't simply about a man who lied, but about someone who took on a responsibility that wasn't his and tried to protect a child from a harsh reality. Mr. Johnson, continue, the judge urged. Michael took a deep breath, memories of those early years rushing back with full force. Jessica improved after 2 years of treatment. She came back, said she wanted to see Emily, but when she saw the girl calling me Dad, when she realized Emily didn't remember her, she decided it was better this way. Do you have proof of this? Patricia questioned. Jennifer stood and handed an envelope to the judge. Medical reports from that time, Your Honor. They confirm Jessica Taylor's severe postpartum depression and puerperal psychosis. Emily felt the world spin. Had her mother suffered that much? Why had Michael never told her? She asked me to raise Emily as my own, said it would be better for everyone if the girl believed her mother had died. I didn't agree, but Jessica threatened to take her own life if I didn't promise, Michael continued, his voice breaking. That's emotional blackmail, Emily exploded. You had no right. I was 27, Emily. You were 5 when you started asking about Mommy. What was I supposed to say? That your mother was alive but didn't want you? That she chose to start a new life far away because you reminded her too much of David? Michael couldn't hold back his tears. The silence that followed was deafening. Emily covered her face with her hands, sobbing. Even the prosecutor seemed moved by the revelation. Judge William Parker removed his glasses, cleaning them as he gathered his thoughts. In his 30 years on the bench, few cases had affected him as deeply as this one. Let's take a 15-minute recess, he announced, banging the gavel. As everyone began to rise, Michael made one last attempt. Emily, sweetheart, please. I need air. Emily hurried out, followed by her lawyer. In the courthouse hallway, Emily leaned against the wall, trying to process everything she had just heard. Her friend Samantha, who had accompanied her, offered a bottle of water. Are you okay? Samantha asked worriedly. I don't even know what's true anymore, Sam. My whole life was a lie, but now it seems like the lie was meant to protect me. I'm so confused. Emily, breathe. Let's sit over here. Samantha guided her to a bench. Richard Miller approached, adjusting his tie. Emily, this new information changes things a bit. Maybe we should consider... No, Emily cut him off. He still lied. He still took away my choice to decide whether I wanted to meet my birth mother. That decision should have been mine. Across the hallway, Michael spoke with Jennifer. You did what you thought was best at the time. Jennifer tried to comfort him. But what if I was wrong? What if Emily's right and I should have told her when she was older? Michael questioned himself. Michael, you raised that girl with love. That has to count for something. Back in the courtroom, everyone returned to their seats. The judge seemed to have reached a decision, but his expression gave nothing away. Before we proceed, I'd like to ask a few questions. Miss Emily, could you tell us about your childhood? Emily wasn't expecting that. She glanced at her lawyer, who nodded for her to answer. I had a happy childhood, she admitted reluctantly. Could you be more specific? The judge encouraged. Emily closed her eyes, memories flooding back despite her anger. He was always there. Every school play, every parent-teacher, to meeting. When I was afraid of the dark, he slept on my bedroom floor. When I had chickenpox, he took time off work to take care of me. Go on, the judge said gently. He learned how to braid my hair because I wanted to wear it like the other girls at school. He watched every princess movie with me 1,000 times, taught me how to ride a bike, how to swim. Emily stopped, realizing what she was doing. It sounds like Mr. Johnson was a very devoted father, the judge observed. But that doesn't erase the lie, Emily protested. No, it doesn't, the judge agreed. But we must consider all aspects. Mr. Johnson, did you ever try to locate Jessica over the years? Michael lowered his head. Yes, Your Honor. When Emily turned 15, I hired a private investigator. I found out Jessica had moved abroad, was married, and had other children. Emily's head snapped up. Other children? She had siblings? Did you make contact? The judge asked. I sent a letter. She replied asking me never to reach out again. She said she had rebuilt her life and that revealing Emily's existence would destroy her new family. Her husband didn't know about her past. Where is that letter? Richard demanded. I burned it, Michael admitted. I didn't want Emily to find it and feel rejected. You destroyed evidence, Patricia accused. I protected my daughter, Michael shot back firmly. The judge banged the gavel again, calling for order. Let's all calm down. Miss Emily, knowing this, do you still wish to proceed with the case? Emily felt every eye in the room on her. The courtroom seemed to shrink, the air growing heavier. She looked at Michael, seeing in him not the man who had betrayed her, but the father who had dried her tears, celebrated her victories, and supported her through everything. I need to think, Emily murmured. I understand. But we need a decision today, the judge informed them. It was then that Michael stood up again. Your Honor, I accept any punishment you deem fair, but please let me hug my daughter one last time. If after that she never wants to see me again, I'll respect her decision. Judge William Parker looked from Michael to Emily. In them, he saw the reflection of so many broken families that had passed through his courtroom. But he also saw love. Wounded, bruised, but still love. Miss Emily, Mr. Michael is asking for permission to hug you. The decision is yours. Emily felt the tears flowing freely now. 19 years of love against 3 months of anger. A lifetime of care against a lie that she now realized had been told to protect her. I don't know if I can, she whispered. No one is forcing you, Samantha said, holding her hand. Michael took a step forward, his hands outstretched in plea. Emily, my love, I know I was wrong. I know I should have told you when you were older, but I was so afraid of losing you. You're all I have in this world. You had me for 19 years based on a lie, Emily shouted. No, Michael shook his head. I had you for 19 years based on the purest love I've ever known. You may not be my blood, but you are my daughter in heart, in soul, in all, the sleepless nights, in all the tears I wiped away, in all the smiles we shared. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, back to the story. The judge watched the interaction closely. In Emily, he saw the internal battle between love and pain, between forgiveness and justified anger. Miss Emily, may I share something personal? The judge asked, surprising everyone. Emily nodded, still trying to control her tears. When I was your age, I found out my father wasn't my biological father. I spent years angry, years without speaking to him. You know what happened? What? Emily asked weakly. He died before I could forgive him, and not a day goes by that I don't regret not giving him that hug he begged for, the judge revealed, his professional tone giving way to human vulnerability. The judge's revelation had a deep impact on everyone present. Even the courtroom staff, accustomed to all kinds of drama, seemed moved. Emily looked at Michael again. The man who had raised her stood there, vulnerable, broken, but still loving her unconditionally. She thought of all the times he had put his own life aside for her. Michael had never married, always saying Emily was his priority. "Why did you never marry?" Emily asked suddenly, catching everyone off guard. Michael smiled sadly. "How could I bring someone into our lives and keep lying? How could I explain to a wife that you weren't my biological child without you finding out? I chose. You, Emily, I always chose you." Attorney Jennifer seized the moment. "Your Honor, my client gave up having his own family to protect Emily. Doesn't that show love?" "It shows a lie that lasted 19 years, Richard Miller countered. "Or it shows 19 years of sacrifice," Jennifer shot back. Emily stood, abruptly all eyes turning to her. "Enough! Stop talking about me like I'm not here," she exploded. "This is my life, my pain, my decision." "You're right, miss," the judge agreed. "What do you decide?" Emily walked slowly to the center of the room, stopping halfway between Michael and her seat. Memories flooded her mind. The first day, of school, when Michael cried more than she did. The sweet 16 party he threw with so much care. The night studying together for college entrance exams. The pride in his eyes when she got into education. "You taught me how to ride a bike," she said softly, looking at Michael. "How you fell 17 times before you got it." Michael smiled through tears. 18, Emily corrected. "You counted wrong." "I was always terrible at math," Michael tried to joke. "Liar. You helped me with all my math homework." Emily took another step toward him. The entire courtroom held its breath. The moment was charged with an almost tangible emotion. "You braided my hair crooked," Emily continued. "But they got better with time," Michael defended himself. "You watched Frozen with me." 143 times, I counted," Michael finished. "You gave me medicine for cramps. And chocolate. Always chocolate." "You lied to me." Emily finally said what mattered. "Yes," Michael didn't deny it. "I lied, and I've regretted it every day since you found out." "But Emily, my love, I never lied about loving you." Emily was now just one step away from Michael. She could see the wrinkles around his eyes, wrinkles that weren't there when she was a child, wrinkles earned from raising her, worrying about her, living for her. "If I hug you now," Emily began, her voice trembling, "it doesn't mean everything's okay." "I know," Michael replied. "It doesn't mean I forgive you." "I know. It doesn't mean I trust you." "I know. It just means I still love you despite everything." Emily finally gave in, tears flowing freely. Michael opened his arms, and Emily threw herself into them, just like she did as a child after nightmares. The hug was long, wet with tears from both sides, full of pain but also love. The room erupted into emotional murmurs. Even Prosecutor Patricia discreetly wiped away a tear. Judge William Parker watched the scene with a mix of professional satisfaction and personal emotion. When they finally pulled apart, Emily returned to her seat, still crying, but looking lighter. "Your Honor," Richard Miller stood, "my client would like to withdraw." "No," Emily interrupted. "I'm not dropping the case." The room was stunned. Michael seemed to deflate in his chair. "But Miss Emily," the judge began. "Please let me explain," Emily pleaded. "I love my father. Yes, he is my father, no matter what any DNA test says, but he needs to understand what he did was wrong. I had the right to know." "What do you propose?" the judge asked. Emily took a deep breath. "I want him to help me find my birth mother. I want to meet my siblings if they want to meet me. I want the truth, the whole truth about my birth father. And I want family therapy so we can learn to rebuild our relationship on honesty." Michael stood immediately. "I agree to everything. Emily, I'll do whatever you want. I'll hire the best detective, pay for all the trips, all the therapy. I just want you back in my life." Judge William Parker made his final notes. The case had taken an unexpected turn, but perhaps the best one possible under the circumstances. "Very well. Considering the facts presented and the agreement between both parties, I rule as follows. Mr. Michael Johnson shall fund and facilitate all necessary means for Emily to establish contact with her biological family, should she so desire. Both parties shall participate in family therapy for at least 6 months. Mr. Michael shall provide all documents and information regarding Emily's origins without omission." I accept all the conditions, Michael said promptly. Me, too, Emily agreed. Regarding the accusation of emotional abandonment, the judge continued, considering that Mr. Johnson, despite hiding the truth, provided Emily with an upbringing filled with exemplary love, care, and dedication, and considering that his actions, though misguided, were motivated by what he believed was in the child's best interest, I acquit the defendant. Emily felt an unexpected relief at the decision. Deep down, she didn't want to see Michael punished. She just wanted the truth. However, the judge added, this acquittal comes with a warning. Mr. Johnson, love does not justify lies. Emily has shown admirable maturity in seeking reconciliation despite her pain. Do not waste this second chance. I won't, Your Honor. I promise, Michael assured. Miss Emily, the judge addressed her, you've also shown courage in confronting this situation. Many prefer to live in comfortable lies rather than face painful truths. I hope you both find a way to rebuild your relationship. Thank you, Your Honor, Emily said. Case closed, the judge declared, striking the gavel. As everyone began to rise, Michael hesitantly approached Emily. Can I take you home? He asked hopefully. Emily glanced at Samantha, who nodded encouragingly. Not yet, Emily replied, but maybe we could get coffee, talk. Of course, whatever you'd like, Michael smiled, a small but genuine smile. As they left the courtroom, Emily paused and looked back. Judge William Parker was still seated, organizing his papers. Your Honor, she called. Yes, Miss Emily? Thank you for sharing your story. It made a difference. The judge smiled warmly like a father. Sometimes, miss, we must learn from others' mistakes to avoid repeating them. Go rebuild your family, there's still time. Outside the courthouse, the afternoon sun bathed the city. Michael and Emily walked side by side, no longer defendant and victim, but father and daughter trying to find a new path. There's a new cafe on the corner, Michael suggested timidly. I still prefer the old one, near home, Emily replied. Some things don't need to change. Michael smiled, understanding the unspoken message. Some things didn't need to change. The love between them was one of them. At the cafe, seated at the same table where they used to share hot chocolate on winter afternoons when Emily was little, the initial silence was uncomfortable. Where do we start? Emily asked, nervously stirring her cup. From the beginning, Michael suggested. Should I tell you everything from the day David asked me to be the godfather of the child he was expecting? Emily nodded. And so, for the first time in 19 years, Michael told the whole truth about David, his childhood best friend, about how he fell in love with Jessica, the orphaned girl who worked at the library, about the accident that took David's life when Jessica was 7 months pregnant. Jessica went into premature labor when she heard the news. Michael recounted, his eyes distant. You were born so tiny, fighting for life. Jessica couldn't even look at you. She said you had David's eyes. Emily listened silently, absorbing every detail of the story she should have known long ago. I stayed at the hospital, alternating between the neonatal ICU and Jessica's room. She tried... Michael paused, his voice breaking. She tried to hurt herself twice. The doctors diagnosed her with severe postpartum depression worsened by grief. And you took on everything, Emily finished. What else could I do? David was like a brother to me. You were his daughter. Jessica needed treatment. Someone had to take care of you. Emily reached her hand across the table, gently touching Michael's. It must have been so hard. You were so young. I was terrified, Michael admitted. I didn't know how to change a diaper, how to make a bottle. The nurse at the hospital taught me everything. Remember Mrs. Jenkins, our neighbor, the one who made the best fudge in the world? Emily smiled faintly. She saved me so many times. When you cried in the middle of the night and I didn't know what to do, she'd show up with chamomile tea and endless patience. The conversation flowed for hours. Michael told her about Emily's first words, Daddy, ironically, her first steps, the day Jessica came back. She was doing better, medicated in therapy. She stood at the door for an hour before ringing the bell, Michael recalled. When you appeared, clinging to my leg, calling me Daddy, she broke down. What did she say? Emily asked. That it was better this way. that you were happy, well cared for, that she wasn't emotionally capable of being a mother. She made me promise to raise you as my own, to tell you she had died so you wouldn't grow up feeling rejected. Emily processed the information, trying to imagine the weight Michael had carried all these years. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, back to the story. And my grandparents? David's parents? Emily asked. Your grandfather had just been transferred to England. He was an engineer for a multinational company. When I told them about you, they said they couldn't raise a child. They sent money sometimes in the early years. Then we lost touch. They didn't want to meet me. Emily felt the old sting of abandonment. I think it was too painful for them. You look just like David, but Emily, it was never about you. It was about their grief. Emily nodded, understanding rationally but still feeling the rejection emotionally. What about Jessica having other children? She finally asked the question that troubled her most. Michael took a deep breath. When you turned 15, I started questioning if I'd done the right thing. You were growing up, asking more complex questions about your mother. That's when I hired the detective. And, Emily prompted, Jessica was living in Canada, married to a doctor she met during treatment. They had 2 kids, a 10-year-old boy and an 8-year-old girl at the time. Emily's chest tightened. Siblings. She had siblings she'd never met. Did the detective get any photos? She asked hesitantly. Michael shook his head. I told him not to dig too deep. I just wanted to know if she was okay, if she was happy. When I found out she was, I wrote the letter. What did you say in the letter? That you were well, happy, healthy, that you were in high school, had friends, played guitar, that I respected her decision but believed you had the right to know the truth when you grew up. And she replied, asking you not to contact her again, Emily finished. She said her husband didn't know about you, that she'd built a new life and revealing the past would destroy everything. She begged me to keep the secret. Tears welled in Emily's eyes. Again, so she really didn't want me. No, sweetheart, Michael gripped her hands tightly. She couldn't be your mother. Those are different things. Postpartum depression is a real devastating illness. Combined with grieving David, Jessica did what she could. But she had other children, Emily protested. After years of treatment, with another partner, under different circumstances. Emily, it doesn't diminish you. It doesn't mean you're worth less. Emily knew Michael was right, but the pain was still there, raw and real. I want to find her, she said firmly. I know, and I'll help you, Michael promised. But Emily, you need to be prepared. She might not want contact. It could be painful. More painful than finding out my whole life was a lie? Emily asked with a sad smile. Point taken, Michael agreed. They fell silent for a moment, each lost in thought. You know what hurts the most? Emily finally said. What? That you never trusted me enough to tell me the truth. When I turned 18, when I started college, you had so many chances. Michael hung his head, ashamed. I know, but Emily, with each passing year, it got harder. How could I say it? After so long, I panicked. I was a coward. Yes, you were, Emily agreed, but you were also loving, devoted, present. It's so confusing to love and be angry at the same person. Welcome to the world of complicated feelings. Michael tried to lighten the mood. That's where adults live. Emily laughed softly, her first genuine laugh in months. Remember when I said I wanted to be an astronaut? She asked suddenly. No, you were 7. We built a spaceship out of cardboard boxes. Michael smiled at the memory. You spent the whole night painting stars on my bedroom ceiling. They're still there. I know, Emily revealed. I never wanted you to paint over them. Another comfortable silence settled between them. So now what? Michael asked. Where? Do we go from here? Now we rebuild, Emily answered. But with truth this time, no secrets. No secrets, Michael agreed. Emily, can I tell you something? No more surprises, Dad, she warned, but noticed she'd called him Dad naturally. It's not a bad surprise, it's just, all these years, I was afraid that when you found out the truth, you'd realize you didn't need me, that you'd look for your real family and leave me behind. Emily's heart ached. Dad, real family isn't about blood. It's about who's there, who holds your hand when you're sick, who celebrates your wins, who wipes your tears. You're my real family. You always have been. Michael couldn't hold back his tears. Emily stood and walked to his side of the table, hugging him again. But, she added, that doesn't mean I don't want to know the other part of my story. I need that to feel whole. I understand, Michael said, and I'll support you every step of the way. When they finally left the cafe, the sun was setting. They walked slowly through the familiar streets of the neighborhood where Emily had grown up. Look, Mr. Sullivan's ice cream shop is still open, Emily pointed out. Want some ice cream? Michael offered. They probably still have that mint chocolate chip you loved. Actually, I always hated mint chocolate chip, Emily confessed. But you loved it and always wanted to share, so I pretended to like it. Michael stopped in his tracks, stunned. Seriously, all these years? All these years, Emily confirmed. See, I can keep secrets too. They laughed together, and for a moment, it was as if the last 3 months hadn't happened. But both knew they couldn't just erase the past. They'd have to work to rebuild trust. Emily? Michael called as they reached the building where she was staying temporarily with Samantha. Yeah? Thank you for giving me a second chance, for not giving up on us. Emily smiled, a still hurting but genuine smile. Family doesn't give up on each other, Dad, even when it hurts, especially when it hurts. When do we start therapy? Michael asked. I booked it for Thursday at 3. Don't be late. I've never been late to anything of yours in my life, and I'm not starting now, Michael promised. Emily started up the front steps, but stopped halfway. Dad? Do you still have that box with my biological father's things? Michael nodded. It's in my closet. It's always been there, waiting for the right moment. Can you bring it on Thursday? I think the therapist will want us to explore it together. Of course. Emily. Yes? I love you. I always have. That was never a lie. I know, Dad. I love you too. That part has always been true. Emily entered the building, leaving Michael on the sidewalk. He stood there for a few minutes, staring at the apartment window until he saw the light turn on. His girl was safe. Hurt, wounded, but safe, and willing to rebuild. Inside the apartment, Samantha waited anxiously. How did it go? Did you talk? Emily collapsed onto the couch, emotionally drained. We talked. It was hard but necessary. What did you decide? That love is complicated, Emily mused. That people make mistakes, even when they're trying to do right. That family is confusing and painful and beautiful all at once. That's pretty deep for someone who just came from a court hearing, Samantha teased. What can I say? I just found out my life is a soap opera, Emily laughed. Next episode, searching for my lost mother in Canada. Are you really going to look for her? I am. I have to. Even if she doesn't want to see me, I need to try. So, I can move forward. What about your dad? I mean, Michael. He's still my dad, Emily said firmly. That doesn't change. He raised me, loved me, sacrificed his life for me. I just need to learn to trust him again. Samantha hugged her friend. You're really brave, you know? Or really stupid, Emily chuckled. Haven't decided which yet. That night, Emily couldn't sleep. She lay staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything she'd discovered. Somewhere in Canada, there was a woman who carried her for 9 months and then couldn't stay. Somewhere. In England, there were grandparents who chose forgetting over pain. And just a few blocks away, there was a man who chose love, even if he stumbled along the way. She picked up her phone and typed a message. Dad, I forgot to ask. What was David's favorite color? The reply came almost instantly. Blue. Like your eyes. Sleep well, sweetheart. Emily smiled through her tears. Maybe the truth was painful, but it was also freeing. For the first time in months, she felt she could rebuild her life. Not the same life as before, but a new one, built on truth and conscious choices. In the days that followed, Emily and Michael began preparing their search for Jessica. They hired a new detective, one more experienced in family reunification. Emily wrote and rewrote a letter dozens of times, unsure what to say to the woman who brought her into the world. The first therapy session was intense. The psychologist, Dr. Catherine, A woman in her 60s with extensive experience in family therapy listened to their full story without interruption. "This is a complex situation," she observed. "Michael, you've carried guilt for 19 years. Emily, you've carried hurt for 3 months. Both feelings are valid." "How do we move past this?" Emily asked. "With time, patience, and a lot of honest communication. Michael, you need to understand Emily has every right to feel angry. Emily, you need to process that Michael's decision, though wrong, came from a place of love and protection." "I get that logically," Emily said, "but emotionally?" "Emotions don't follow logic," Dr. Catherine explained, "and that's okay. We'll work with both." The sessions became a safe space for them to express their fears and frustrations. Michael revealed the terror he'd felt for years that Emily would reject him. Emily shared her sense of betrayal and the confusion over what was real in her memories. "The memories are real," Dr. Catherine assured them. "The love is real. The lie doesn't erase the truth of what you've lived together." After a month of therapy, the detective brought news. He had located Jessica in Toronto. She was well, still married, now with 3 children. She had had another child in recent years. "How should we proceed?" the detective asked. Emily looked at Michael, who nodded encouragingly. "Send the letter," she decided, "and we'll wait." The letter Emily finally sent was simple. "Jessica, my name is Emily. You know me, though I don't remember you. I'm 22 now, a teacher, and I love children and music. I grew up happy, loved, and well cared for. Recently, I learned the truth about my origins. I'm not writing to cause trouble or make demands. I'm writing because I need to know this part of my story. If you can, if you want to, I'd like to talk. Even if it's just once. I need to look into the eyes of the woman who brought me into this world and say it's okay, that I understand, that I hold no grudge. If you can't or don't want to, I'll understand that too, but I had to try. With hope, Emily." The reply took 2 months to arrive, 2 months during which Emily and Michael continued therapy, slowly rebuilding their relationship. Emily had started visiting him regularly again, though she still kept her space in Samantha's apartment. When the letter finally came, Emily called Michael immediately. "She answered," was all she managed to say. "I'm on my way," Michael replied. They opened the letter together, Emily's hands trembling. The handwriting was delicate, careful. "Emily, there are no words to express what I felt when I received your letter. Relief, fear, joy, guilt, all at once. You say you hold no grudge, but you should. I failed you in the worst way possible. A mother should be strong, should fight. I couldn't. Michael sent me photos of you over the years without you knowing. I watched you grow from afar, always beautiful, always smiling. He was the father I didn't let David be, the mother I couldn't be. Yes, I would like to see you, but understand I can't give you what you deserve. I can't be your mother now. That place belongs to Michael, who was there when I wasn't. If you still want to meet me, even with these limits, I'll be in the United States next month. My husband knows about you now. It was hard, but he understood. My children don't know yet. It's complicated. Choose a public place. Michael can be there if you want. I think that would be good. He deserves to be there." With love and regret, Jessica Emily read the letter 3 times before she could speak. "She's coming," she whispered. "How do you feel?" Michael asked carefully. "Terrified, anxious, hopeful, angry, all at once," Emily admitted. "It's normal to feel all of that." "She said you were both father and mother, that the mother's place is yours," Emily noted. Michael smiled sadly. "I tried, but Emily, meeting her won't lessen our bond. Don't be afraid of that." "Will you come with me?" Emily asked. "When she comes?" "If you want me to, I'd go to hell and back with you." Emily hugged Michael, feeling more like his daughter than ever. "Thank you for everything, even the mistakes, because in the end they brought me here too." The meeting was set for a cafe in downtown New York City, neutral and public as Jessica had requested. Emily changed clothes 5 times before leaving, as nervous as a teenager. "Relax, Michael," tried to reassure her in the car. "It's just a conversation." "Just meeting the woman who abandoned me. No pressure," Emily replied with nervous humor. When they arrived at the cafe, Jessica was already there. Emily recognized her immediately. It was like looking into a mirror aged 20 years. The same dark wavy hair, the same brown eyes, even the way she bit her lip when nervous. Jessica stood when she saw them, her hands visibly shaking. "Emily," she said, her voice breaking. "Hi," Emily replied, unsure how to proceed. Should they hug, shake hands? "Michael," Jessica greeted. "Thank you for coming." "Emily asked," he replied simply. They sat down, the initial silence heavy and uncomfortable. "You look beautiful," Jessica finally said. "The photos don't do you justice." "Photos?" Emily looked at Michael. "I sent them every year on your birthday," Michael confessed. "I thought she had the right to see you grow up, even from afar." Emily didn't know whether to feel touched or irritated by yet another revelation. "Why did you leave?" she asked. Directly, without beating around the bush. Jessica took a deep breath. "I was broken, Emily. Losing David, the premature birth, the depression. I looked at you, and all I could see was him. The pain was unbearable. But you got better. You had other children," Emily pointed out, the hurt evident. "After 3 years of intensive therapy, medication, 2 attempts to—" Jessica stopped. "Yes, I got better, but the cost was high." "You tried to kill yourself?" Emily asked, shocked. "3 times. Michael didn't tell you to protect you," Jessica revealed. "The last time was when I came back to see you when you were 5. You were so happy, so well-adjusted. You called me Aunt and ran into Michael's arms, calling him Daddy. I realized my presence would only bring confusion and pain." Emily processed the information, trying to reconcile the image of the mother who abandoned her with the broken woman in front of her. "Do you regret it?" Emily asked. "Every day," Jessica answered without hesitation. "But Emily, look at you. Beautiful, well-mannered, balanced. Michael did an amazing job. Would you have turned out this way if you'd been raised by a depressed, unstable mother?" "We don't know because you didn't try," Emily replied sharply. "You're right," Jessica accepted the criticism. "I was a coward. I chose the easier path for me, not the best one for you." Michael, who had stayed silent, decided to intervene. "Jessica was very ill, Emily. I saw it. It wasn't abandonment. It was inability." "You don't have to defend me, Michael," Jessica said. "Emily has every right to her anger." "I don't know what to feel," Emily admitted. "I spent months angry, imagining this moment. But looking at you now, you're just a woman, not the monster I created in my head." "I'm sorry," Jessica said, tears falling. "I'm sorry I wasn't strong enough. I'm sorry I left Michael to carry everything alone. I'm sorry you grew up without a mother." "I didn't grow up without a mother," Emily corrected, looking at Michael. "I had a father who was both father and mother, who braided my hair, took care of me when I was sick, watched princess movies, taught me about unconditional love." Michael discreetly wiped away a tear. "Your other children," Emily changed the subject. "Do they know about me?" "Not yet. My husband thought it best to wait and see how our meeting went," Jessica explained. "And how do you think it's going?" Emily asked. "Better than I deserve," Jessica answered honestly. They talked for 2 more hours. Jessica shared stories about David, how excited he was to be a father, the plans they had made. Emily shared childhood memories, things Michael had done for her. It was strange, but somehow healing. "Can I ask you a difficult question?" Emily said near the end of their meeting. "Of course." "Do you love me?" Emily asked directly. Jessica began to cry openly. "I love the idea of you. I love the baby I carried. I love the young woman I see now. But a mother's love, that instinctive, unconditional love, I don't know if I have that. The depression took something from me that never fully came back." The brutal honesty hurt, but Emily appreciated the truth. "Thank you for not lying," Emily said. "You've had enough lies." Jessica looked at Michael meaningfully. When they said goodbye, Emily took the initiative and briefly hugged Jessica. "Maybe we can keep in touch. Slowly, no expectations," Emily offered. "I'd like that," Jessica agreed. "Thank you so much, Emily, for giving me a chance I didn't deserve." "Everyone deserves a chance at redemption," Emily said, glancing at Michael. "I learned that recently." In the car on the way home, Emily was quiet. Are you okay? Michael asked, concerned. You know what I realized? Emily finally spoke. I spent so much time angry at you for lying that I missed the obvious. What? That you chose to be my father. Jessica didn't have a choice. The illness chose for her. David's parents didn't have the courage, but you chose. Every single day for 19 years, you chose to be my dad. It was the best choice of my life, Michael said, emotional. You know what else? Emily continued. I'm tired of living in the past, dwelling on what could have been. I want to look forward. What do you have in mind? First, I'm moving back home. No more living with Samantha. Second, we'll keep going to therapy, but we'll also make new memories. Third, I want to meet my siblings, but when the time's right. And fourth, Emily paused. Fourth, Michael encouraged. I want you to teach me how to make your special pasta sauce. You always said you'd teach me when I was grown up enough. Emily smiled. Michael laughed, relief clear on his face. The Johnson family's secret sauce. Are you ready for that responsibility? Dad, after everything we've been through, I think I'm ready for anything. 6 months later, Emily was in the kitchen preparing dinner when the phone rang. It was Jessica. Hi, Emily. I know we agreed to talk only once a month, but my kids are asking about you. They found out you exist and want to meet their big sister. Emily looked at Michael, who was helping chop tomatoes. What do you think? She asked him, covering the phone. It's your call, but family is always welcome in this house, Michael replied. Jessica, how about they come for Christmas? We can do lunch, no pressure. Michael makes an amazing turkey. Are you sure? Jessica asked, surprised. I am. After all, they're my siblings, and family's complicated, but it's family. When she hung up, Emily hugged Michael. Thank you for everything, for raising me, loving me, giving me space to grow, letting me make my own mistakes. Thank you, Michael answered, for forgiving me, for choosing me back, for giving me the chance to be your dad the right way this time. You've always been my dad the right way, Emily corrected. We just needed to add honesty to the recipe. Though, speaking of recipes, the sauce is burning. Michael pointed to the stove. Oh no, Emily rushed to save dinner. See, I still really need my dad. And you always will, Michael promised, because real dads are forever. That night, as they ate together like they had for years, Emily realized that sometimes the strongest families are the ones that weather the storm, that true love isn't perfect, but it's persistent, and that the truth, no matter how painful, always sets you free. Christmas arrived with a mix of nerves and excitement. Emily decorated the house as she always did, but this time with extra places at the table. Her siblings, 17-year-old Matthew, 15-year-old Hannah, and little 8-year-old Ethan, would be coming with Jessica and her husband, Stephen. Are you ready for this? Dr. Catherine asked in their last session before the holiday. Honestly, I don't know, Emily admitted, but I've learned life doesn't wait until we're ready. And you, Michael, how do you feel about a full house? Excited. Michael surprised them both. I always wanted a big family. Maybe not in the traditional way, but whose family is? On the day of the lunch, Emily woke up early, her nerves keeping her from sleeping any longer. Michael was already in the kitchen preparing the turkey. Couldn't sleep either, he asked. I made a mental list of all possible disasters, Emily confessed. Want to share? Scenario 1. They hate me for being the daughter their mother abandoned. Scenario 2. We find out we have nothing in common. Scenario 3. Ethan asks why his mother didn't raise me and no one knows what to say. Scenario 4. Michael added. Everything goes well, and we gain a beautiful, complicated, extended family. You've always been too optimistic, Emily teased. The doorbell rang at exactly 2 in the afternoon. Emily took a deep breath before opening the door. Matthew was the first to speak, extending his hand formally. Hi, I'm Matthew. It's weird to say, but nice to meet you, sis. The ice broke immediately. Emily laughed and pulled the teenager into a hug. No formalities. We're family, apparently. Hannah was shyer, but her eyes sparkled with curiosity. Ethan, the youngest, got straight to the point, as only children can. Are you really my sister? Mom said you were born before she met Dad. How does that work? Stephen, a calm man in his 40s, gently intervened. Ethan, remember what we talked about? Sometimes families form in different ways. "Oh yeah, like Thomas in my class who has two mums," Ethan exclaimed, pleased with the comparison. Lunch went better than Emily had imagined. Matthew, it turned out, also played guitar. Hannah loved literature just like Emily. Ethan was a curious and affectionate child who quickly took to Michael, impressed by his stories. "You really built a cardboard spaceship?" Ethan asked in awe. "With Christmas? Lights and everything," Michael confirmed. "Emily played in it for weeks." "Can we build one too?" the boy asked hopefully. "If your mum says yes, of course." Michael glanced at Jessica, who nodded, visibly moved. During dessert, Hannah asked the question everyone had avoided. "Emily, are you mad at Mom for leaving?" Silence fell over the table. Emily thought carefully before answering. "I was angry, Hannah, for a long time, but I've learned that sometimes people do the best they can with what they have at the time. Your mum was sick when I was born. She didn't leave because she didn't love me, but because she loved me too much to let me grow up with someone who wasn't well." "But she got better later," Matthew observed, a hint of accusation in his voice. "Yes," Emily agreed, "and she built a beautiful family with you. I wouldn't change any of it because then you wouldn't exist, and now that I've met you, I can't imagine the world without you." Matthew seemed satisfied with the answer. Stephen squeezed Jessica's hand under the table, a gesture of support that didn't go unnoticed. "Can I say something?" Jessica asked. "I know I have no right to ask for anything, but seeing you all together, my 4 children at the same table, it's a gift I never thought I'd receive." 4 kids and 2 dads, Ethan corrected, pointing at Michael and Stephen. "That's a really big family." The innocence of the remark made everyone laugh, easing the tension. After lunch, while the adults had coffee, the children explored the house. Emily showed Hannah her room, including the stars painted on the ceiling. "Wow, this is amazing," Hannah exclaimed. "Michael painted them when I was 7. I never wanted to paint over them," Emily shared. "He seems like an amazing dad," Hannah observed. "You were lucky." "I really was," Emily agreed. "Just like you're lucky to have your mom and Stephen." "Is it weird?" Hannah asked. "Having siblings you didn't?" "Think about." "A little," Emily admitted. "But it's a good weird, like getting a surprise gift." As evening approached and they prepared to leave, Ethan ran up to Emily. "Can I call you sis?" he asked hopefully. Emily felt her heart melt. "Of course you can, Ethan. Awesome. Now I have 2 sisters and a brother. I'm going to tell everyone at school." The goodbyes were warm, with promises to stay in touch. Matthew and Emily exchanged numbers to share music. Hannah asked for book recommendations. Ethan made Michael promise they'd build the spaceship during vacation. When the door closed, Emily leaned against it, exhausted but happy. "How did it go?" Michael asked. "Better than all my scenarios. You were right, as always." "Not always," Michael corrected, "but I'm learning." "You know what I realized today?" Emily said as they tidied up the kitchen. "What?" "That family isn't about perfection, it's about choice. Jessica chose to protect herself and me by leaving. You chose to raise me. I chose to forgive. Richard chose to accept Jessica's past. And today we all chose to try." "For someone so young, you're very wise," Michael observed proudly. "I had a good teacher," Emily smiled. The following months brought a new family dynamic. The gatherings became regular, though spaced out. Emily developed unique relationships with each sibling. Matthew shared music and talks about upcoming college. Hannah asked for advice about boys and complicated friendships. Ethan saw her as the cool older sister who had all the answers. Year after their first meeting, Jessica called with a proposal. "Emily, I know it might be a lot to ask, but Richard got a job offer in New York City. We'd be closer. The kids are excited about seeing you more often. What do you think?" Emily looked at Michael, who was pretending not to pay attention while reading the newspaper. "Dad, what do you think about having family nearby?" Michael lowered the paper. "I think this house has been too quiet, and that spaceship won't build itself." "Jessica, I think it's a great idea," Emily replied on the phone. The move happened 6 months later. Emily helped them look for a house, schools for the kids, and settle into the city. It was strange at times seeing Jessica regularly, but also healing. "You're forming new bonds with her," Dr. Catherine observed in a session. Not as mother and daughter, Emily clarified, but as two women who share a history. It's different, but it works for us. And Michael? How's he handling all this? Emily smiled. He loves having a full house on weekends. Ethan practically lives there. I think Michael always wanted a big family, and now he has one, in the most unlikely way possible. Life settled into a new normal. Emily continued living with Michael, but now with a steady flow of siblings visiting. Special occasions were celebrated together. Birthdays, holidays, small and big achievements. One evening, after a particularly noisy dinner with everyone present, Emily and Michael stayed on the porch watching the stars. Any regrets? Emily asked. Just one, Michael replied. What? Not trusting you sooner, not trusting us, he said honestly. But if you'd told me earlier, maybe we wouldn't have this. Emily gestured to the house, full of laughter. Maybe I'd have looked for Jessica as a rebellious teen. Maybe things would have been different, worse. Do you believe in fate? Michael asked. I believe in choices, Emily answered. And all our choices, right and wrong, brought us here, and here is exactly where we want to be. When did you get so wise? Michael teased. Must be genetics or upbringing. Still deciding, Emily laughed. A year later, on Emily's 24th birthday, the party brought everyone together, extended family, friends, co-workers. Jessica had prepared the cake, a recipe that came from David's mother, connecting Emily to a story she had never known. Speech, speech, Matthew began shouting, followed by the others. Emily climbed onto a chair, slightly embarrassed but happy. Okay, you win. Well, what can I say? 3 years ago, my perfect life fell apart when I discovered it was all built on a lie. It was the worst and best day of my life. She paused, looking at the beloved faces around her. Worst because I lost my innocence, my blind trust. Best because I gained something far more valuable, a real, imperfect, complicated but genuine family. I gained siblings who make me laugh. I gained a birth mother who, even though she couldn't be my mom, became a friend. I gained a stepfather who accepted me without hesitation, and most importantly, Emily looked directly at Michael. I gained a real father, not by chance or biology, but by choice. A father who chose to love me every day, even when it was hard, even when it hurt, even when I didn't deserve it. Michael wiped his tears without shame. So my birthday wish has already come true, Emily continued. I have you, all of you, and that's more than anyone could ask for. The party went on late into the night, filled with music. Matthew and Emily played together. Stories. Ethan insisted on telling everyone about the spaceship they built, and love. Later, as they helped clean up, Jessica approached Emily. Can I tell you something? Of course, Emily replied. Seeing you like this, happy, fulfilled, surrounded by love, it's everything I could have wished for you. Michael did what I couldn't, but knowing you've forgiven me, that you let me be part of your life, it's more than I deserve. Jessica, Emily held her hands. We all did the best we could. You, dealing with your illness. Michael, raising a child alone. Me, learning to forgive. It's not about deserving. It's about love. And love doesn't have to be perfect to be real. Jessica hugged Emily, a different embrace from that first one in the cafe years ago. This was a hug of acceptance, of peace, of found family. 5 years passed. Emily married Ryan, a fellow teacher who won over not just her but the entire extended family. The wedding was a unique celebration. Michael walked her down the aisle, but Jessica was there too, along with all the siblings. Nervous? Emily asked Michael as they waited for the music to start. I should be asking you that, Michael replied. Why? Ryan already passed the approval of 2 fathers, 1 mother, 3 siblings, and countless family therapy sessions. If he's still here, he's worth it, Emily joked. You look happy, Michael observed. I am. Whole, finally. Not because I'm getting married, but because I know who I am. Emily Johnson, daughter by choice, sister by surprise, and soon wife by love. I love you, my daughter, Michael said emotionally. I love you, Dad, Emily replied. Thank you for choosing me. Thank you for choosing me back, Michael countered. The music began and they walked down the aisle. Emily saw Ryan waiting at the altar, emotional. She saw her siblings smiling. She saw Jessica quietly crying. She saw Samantha, her loyal friend, as the maid of honor. She saw Dr. Catherine among the guests, proud of how far they'd come. When Michael handed her to Ryan, he whispered, "Take care of her, she's my greatest treasure." "Don't worry, Dad, I learned from the best," Ryan replied. During the reception, Emily danced with both fathers, first with Michael, the traditional father-daughter dance they'd always dreamed of, then with Stephen, who had become a secondary but important father figure. Ethan, now 13, gave a heartfelt speech about how cool it was to have an older sister who built spaceships. Matthew played a song he'd composed for the couple. Hannah read a poem about families that come together in unexpected ways. At the end of the evening, when Emily tossed the bouquet, it landed in Samantha's hands, much to everyone's amusement. "Looks like you're next," Emily teased. "First, I need to find someone who'll accept this whole crazy family that comes with me," Samantha replied with a laugh. 2 years later, Emily gave birth to her first child. In the waiting room, an unlikely scene unfolded. Michael Johnson and Stephen chatting about soccer, Jessica nervously knitting, and the three brothers betting on whether it would be a boy or a girl. When Ryan came out to announce Olivia's birth, everyone celebrated together. "She's perfect," Ryan declared. "Emily is doing well, tired but radiant." Michael was the first to enter the room, finding Emily holding the baby. "Want to hold your granddaughter?" Emily offered. "Granddaughter," Michael repeated in awe. "I never thought I'd live to see grandchildren." "Well, now you have, and she'll need to learn about stars, spaceships, and secret pasta sauce." "Can I come in?" Jessica asked from the doorway. "Of course," Emily replied. "Come meet Olivia." Jessica approached carefully, admiring the baby. "She has your eyes," she observed. "And Ryan's nose, thank goodness," Emily joked. "Emily," Jessica began hesitantly, "I know I don't have the right, but what will Olivia call me?" Emily thought for a moment. "How about Grandma Jess? Michael?" "We'll be Grandpa, that way there's no confusion." "Grandma Jess," Jessica repeated, tears in her eyes. Thank you. We're family," Emily said simply. "A complicated, unconventional family, but family." In the months that followed, Olivia was surrounded by love from all sides. Michael proved to be the doting grandfather Emily had predicted. Jessica, cautious at first, developed her own bond. With her granddaughter, the uncles took turns visiting and spoiling her. "This child is going to be so spoiled," Ryan remarked one day, seeing the room full of toys. "She's going to be so loved," Emily corrected. "There's a difference." A quiet afternoon, Emily found Michael in Olivia's room watching his granddaughter sleep. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. "How life comes full circle. 27 years ago I was in a hospital holding a baby who wasn't mine, promising to take care of her. Today, I'm here, holding my granddaughter, watching my daughter become the incredible mother I always knew she'd be." "Dad," Emily said, moved, "if it weren't for you, none of this would exist. Olivia wouldn't exist. Our crazy extended family wouldn't exist. If it weren't for your courage to seek the truth and your ability to forgive, neither would it," Michael countered. "I guess we did a good job then," Emily concluded. "The best we could," Michael agreed. "And in the end, that's what matters." Olivia woke at that moment, opening her little eyes and searching for familiar faces. Emily picked her up, and Michael hugged them both. "You know what I'll tell her when she's older?" Emily said. "I'll tell her about the grandfather who chose to be a father, about the grandmother who had to leave before she could return, about how sometimes families form in unexpected ways, and about how true love isn't perfect, but it's persistent. And about forgiveness," Michael added. "Don't forget to tell her about forgiveness." "Especially about forgiveness," Emily agreed. End of story. Now tell me what you thought of this story. Comment where you're watching from and what touched your heart the most. Do you think Emily made the right choice by forgiving and rebuilding family ties? We'd love to hear your opinion. Thank you so much for joining us. Leave a like and, most importantly, subscribe to the channel for more heartwarming stories like this one.